So we are on page
38.
38, chapter 16, verse 13. And I have a volunteer, Audrey.
Yeah. For you have power over life and death. You lead men down to the gates of Hades and back again. A man in his wickedness kills another, but he cannot bring back the departed spirit, nor set free the imprisoned soul. To escape from your hand is impossible, for the ungodly, refusing to know you, were scourged by the strength of your arm, pursued by unusual rains and hail and relentless storms, and utterly consumed by fire. For, most incredible of all, in the water, which quenches all things, the fire had still greater effect, for the universe defends the righteous. At one time the flame was restrained, so that it might not consume the creatures sent against the ungodly, but that seeing this, they may know that they were being pursued by the judgment of God. And at another time, even in the midst of water, it burned more intensely than fire, to destroy the crops of the unrighteous land. Instead of these things, you gave your people the food of angels, and without their toil, you supplied them from heaven with bread ready to eat.
So he's mentioning things that happened in the Exodus. So when they were, basically the plagues, and then also being fed in the desert.
Providing every pleasure suited to every taste. For your sustenance manifested your sweetness toward your children, and the bread ministering to the desire of the one who took it was changed to suit everyone's liking. Snow and ice withstood fire without melting, so that they might know that the crops of their enemies were being destroyed by the fire that blazed in the hail and flashed in the showers of rain. Whereas the fire, in order that the righteous might be fed, even forgot its native power. For creation, serving you who have made it, exerts itself to punish the unrighteous, and in kindness relaxes on behalf of those who trust in you.
So all of creation is at the mercy of God. God directs all of the natural law.
Therefore, at that time also, changing into all forms, it served your all-nourishing bounty according to the desire of those who had need, so that your sons, whom you loved, O Lord, might learn that it is not the production of crops that feeds man, but that your word preserves those who trust in you. For what was not destroyed by fire was melted when simply warmed by a fleeting ray of the sun, to make it known that one must rise before the sun to give you thanks, and must pray to you at the dawning of the light. For the hope of an ungrateful man will melt like wintry frost and flow away like waste water.
So they're talking about, the manna, which basically, if they didn't eat it, it'd be gone as soon as the rays of light hit it. And so they're called to get up early. And he's saying that we must pray to you at the dawning of the light. For the hope of an ungrateful man will melt like wintry frost. So it's kind of interesting. They take what happened in the desert and they're applying it to everyday life.
Great are your judgments and hard to describe. Therefore, uninstructed souls have gone astray. For when lawless men suppose that they held the holy nation in their power, they themselves lay as captives of darkness and prisoners of long night, shut in under their roofs, exiles from eternal providence. For thinking that in their secret sins they were unobserved, behind a dark curtain of forgetfulness, they were scattered, terribly alarmed and appalled by specters.
Isn't that true, though, that we may think, oh, this is, since I didn't get caught or something didn't happen, then maybe God didn't see it. I mean, there's this, or maybe he forgot about it. And this actually, right above here, there was 3 days of darkness that happened. And this kind of prefigures what might happen in the very end of 3 days of darkness.
For not even the inner chamber that held them protected them from fear, but terrifying sounds rang out around them, and dismal phantoms with gloomy faces appeared. And no power of fire was able to give light, nor did the brilliant flames of the stars avail to illume that hateful night. Nothing was shining through to them except a dreadful, self-kindled fire, and in terror they deemed the things which they saw to be worse than that unseen appearance. The delusions of their magic art lay humbled, and their boasted wisdom was scornfully rebuked. For those who promised to drive off the fears and disorders of a sick soul were sick themselves with ridiculous fear. For even if nothing disturbing frightened them, yet, scared by the passing of beasts and the hissing of serpents, they perished in trembling fear, refusing to look even at the air, though it nowhere could be avoided. For wickedness is a cowardly thing, condemned by its own testimony. Distressed by conscience, it has always exaggerated the difficulties.
So this would be something you could look at again. People talk about the 3 days of darkness. If you look at this and read it, what they went through, they're tormented by their conscience, by the things that they did. Nothing would give light at that particular point, except, blessed candles, we know. But the only thing they saw were lightning. And they saw demons. It was dreadful. They were completely filled with fear. And people were perishing because of the fear. Yeah, exactly. And so some of the mystics have said that in the end days, we'll have an illumination of conscience during this time of 3 days of darkness. And so we're not sure if that's going to happen exactly, but looking at this particular verse, this what, describing what happened during the plague, it is something that would be a mercy of God, right? Because that would give us another chance to repent and turn to him. And so God doesn't do these things because he's wicked and evil. No, he does it for the opposite. He loves us. We're his children. And he wants us back. And so sometimes he has to call us back by kind of waking us up.
For fear is nothing but surrender of the helps that come from reason, and the inner expectation of help being weak prefers ignorance of what causes the torment. But through the night, which was really powerless, in which beset them from the recesses of powerless Hades, they all slept the same sleep, and now were driven by monstrous specters, and now were paralyzed by their soul's surrender, for sudden and unexpected fear overwhelmed them, and whoever was there fell down, and thus was kept shut up in a prison not made of iron. For whether he was a farmer or a shepherd or a workman who toiled in the wilderness, he was seized and endured the inescapable fate for which one chain of darkness they all were bound. Whether there came a whistling wind or a melodious sound of birds in wide-spreading branches, or the rhythm of violently rushing water, or the harsh crash of rocks hurled down, or the unseen running of leaping animals, or the sound of the most savage roaring beasts, or an echo thrown back from a hollow of the mountains, it paralyzed them with terror. For the whole world was illuminated with brilliant light and was engaged in unhindered work, while over those men alone heavy night was spread, an image of the darkness that was destined to receive them. But still heavier than darkness were they to themselves.
Yeah, it was, so the darkness was confined to Egypt alone. It also says here that the plague was a foretaste of death and the gloom of Hades. And so that's not something we want to look forward to. Hell, right? Exactly. So with that, we will stop and stand